Okay. So welcome to our Empathy Cafe and Empathy Circle for the Extinction Rebellion. It's a discussion about the Extinction Rebellion co-founder Roger Hallam's comments about the Holocaust. So we'll be doing empathic listening to discuss those comments. And to begin with, we can start with introductions, your name, where you're located, and if you're part of XR, you know, what group you're part of, and I'll just model it. Like I said, I'm Edwin Rutch. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm part of Extinction Rebellion Empathy Circle work group. So Carolina, would you go next?
My name is Karolina Kubiak. I'm calling from Poland, on north of Poland, Central Europe, city of Gdańsk. I am a member of Extinction Rebellion local group here. I'm also a member of Empathy Circle work group, and lately cooperating closely with Global South Solidarity Group. Yeah, that's from me.
Thank you. Dan?
I'm Dan Feldman. I'm in Denver, Colorado, and I'm a member of the Wellbeing Economy Alliance, part of their U.S. narrative team and their global narrative team.
Okay, thank you. Harris?
Hello, I'm Harris Shakaris. I currently live in Norway, but I'm not a local. I'm part of XR Norway and ISTSOS, Self-Organizing Systems cycle in Extinction Rebellion. And to be honest, given that this is check-in, I was really looking for. I was really hoping that many people would come to this event. I don't know how the first one went, because I felt that this was a really big test of the empathy circles for me as well, like whether it can move to it, whether it can discuss the most topical, whether its methodology can handle, to be honest, such a very important topic. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, we can, you're a specialist, but I was sort of hoping that there will be, that we'll get a huge group to, because this issue has been, it's probably the most popular posting base, the most discussed topic. So the passions are really high about this.
Well, we'll get a chance to talk about that. When we come into the empathy circle process, everyone will get the chance to, share those views and comment on them. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll get. So Eric, also, there was a little bit of background noise, so I had muted you. I just unmuted you. So it's good to mute if you're not speaking, but if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Eriks Turn. I live in Baltimore, but I've done most actions with DC, and recently I did a 13-day hunger strike with the global hunger strike. My focus is working with anti-racism education and anti-oppression and decolonizing all of this. And I think there's a major problem with the whiteness of XR and how they ally and build coalitions with other activist groups, mainly people of color. So this is that's kind of like a make or break issue for me with my involvement in XR. If we can't adopt that, then I don't think I will continue. And well, that's enough for intro, but yeah.
Yeah, great. So we're going to just do the intros, how to do the empathy circle, then we'll go into the empathy circle and actually spend about an hour and a half or more doing the empathy circle practice, and then we'll do a short debrief at the end. So the how-to, has everyone seen this? I know Dan, Carolina, so you're familiar with the practice. I'll just mention it quickly for any viewers. In this process, a person will speak. There'll be a speaker, and they'll select who they're going to speak to. They speak about the topic or whatever is alive in you. That is, whatever you have, whatever's on the top of your mind that you want to share. And you share a bit. The listener is going to listen, and then the active listener is going to listen, and then you'll, as a speaker, you pause and give the chance for the active listener to reflect back their understanding of what you've said. You just share an idea or two, and then pause, and then they'll reflect back. And then you check, or you feel like you really heard and understood. If you're not, you can say it again and maybe other words. And then you continue saying some more, and the listener will reflect back. And we're going to have 5-minute turns for this. And then once the time is up, or you don't have anything else to say, you can say, I feel fully heard. And then it's the turn of the listener to become the speaker and choose. So the first thing you do as the speaker is you choose who you want to listen to you, and then the process continues like that. So it is your choice as the speaker who you want to speak to, but it's nice to sort of spread the attention around too. So if someone hasn't been heard, and then that's pretty much the basic of it. And you know, you can just speak about whatever you want. There's no political correctness or whatever. Just say what you want. You will be heard. The goal is for you to feel heard and understood to your satisfaction. So that's really the you know, one of the goals. So with that, I think we're just ready to just jump right in. And whoever would like to start, select who you'd like to speak to. If you want to start speaking to me, since I can reflect back to model it, or it's really up to you, to whoever would like to start. Oh, and Carolina, can you take time here? Okay, I saw you getting ready there. So. And our question is just, what's sort of up for you around Roger Hallam's comments about the Holocaust, or whatever is really alive for you?
Haris, would you like to start?
You're muted.
Sorry, I was saying I have a short span of like that. I can patience. I have a very short patience fuse. So if nobody says anything in 10 seconds, and I say I'll go. But in this case, I was like, please, somebody say something. But yeah, I mean, I'll go. Of course, I'll go. I mean, it's my character. I can be quite dominant, actually. So I was
Who are you
actually
speaking to? Who are you speaking to?
I will speak to. Okay, we'll do this again. Carolina, I'll be picking you soon, but I'll talk to Dan, I think. I want Dan to be my active listener. So
Give him a chance to reflect back what he just heard so far.
Okay, yeah.
So what I heard is that you were that you identify as having a dominant personality, and that you were kind of holding back, hoping that someone else would start speaking. And you chose me. I may have missed something there.
No. No. The choosing you was an inside joke with Carolina. Also because the reason for Carolina is because I think I feel that she must have played a role, especially perhaps because of Poland. And apologies if I'm going into national context now. In Poland, the Holocaust might have some different and more acute, let's say, resonance. So this is why I was thinking of, but we'll have time to have Carolina, but also because I know her better than all the other interlocutors that we've met in other circles. So that's why I said I was going to choose Carolina, but then I said, okay, let's choose somebody else and that can listen. So yeah, do you want to reflect on this? Or?
Yeah, so you mentioned Carolina as somebody that you were thinking about picking either now or in the future, but that you were going to put that off, and that has some national context because of the sensitivity that you perceive that someone from Poland would have about, and your knowledge about Carolina would have about the Holocaust.
Yes, and of course I don't mean this. Also knowing Carolina, it's not so much the national. It's like who I've perceived. It also has to Carolina herself. It's not just, I'm not making an assumption about, all Polish people are like that about the Holocaust. It's this Carolina that I have met, I just get the feeling that it might have been her idea to push for the Holocaust. That's the assumption that I was trying to make. That, you know, and I wanted to talk to Carolina. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So to reflect back at you, the salience, the relevance of Carolina to you wanting to talk about this has more to do with your projection or perception of Carolina and not so much about Poland, her identity as a Polish person.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so to set the agenda, given that Edwin given me the chance to sort of think that I'm setting the agenda, so I'll talk about Roger Hallam. I think that the comments were, first of all, a disrespect and an insult. No, maybe insult is a strong word, but a lack of understanding or some ignorance about how the exact movement actually works. And I will explain what I mean by this. It's that the project itself is, from what I know a bit about activism and about rising up the Action Network and these things like that, from some past experiences of mine, which is I heard the words rise up and I knew of rise up almost 10 years ago, so 2010 to 11, so 9 years ago in Bristol. So there was Rise Up, a network already then, and this might go back to, and the networks, the beginning of networks of activists might be going back to Genova, and I have some evidence for that as well, should anybody ask me. So this is disrespect to the whole movement, to think that somebody can be a chairman, to be controversial, and to be controversial for the sake of it. But also for me, the hubris, if you want, is also to think that this can be a strategy point and I can sell I can sell it, you know, I can do this in the name of, or this would further the cause of XR. XR.
You may want to give him a chance to reflect too. You can also just.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I felt it was a whole unit, and I will stop really soon. Might not be aware totally of the time. So, but I am aware, and I will stop really soon. So, to wrap things up, I felt that this was not. This could be framed as something that is a misunderstanding of what the words rise up, which were there before Extinction Rebellion, actually mean. And I will stop there and see if you, and give you the chance to reflect on this.
Okay. So what I got out of the essence of that was that there was some reference, of which I don't know about, in his comment where he mentioned rise up, and you have some knowledge, from my understanding, you have some knowledge about the evolution or the genealogy of this particular movement that Roger Hallam identifies with, and he is somehow, in your understanding, using this term wrong, and also this is my understanding of what you told me, and that there's some issue about him becoming, should this movement have a spokesperson, and if this movement has a spokesperson, with it being Roger Hallam, is his method of using,
No, go ahead and finish. It's just.
Okay. And is his method of using the Holocaust or framing the Holocaust in this way, is that to the benefit of XR? I'll stop there and get your feedback, I guess. I don't know what happens now.
That is the time, so we can pick up the next time around. So it would be.
I just want to suggest, if you, Harris, want to wrap up somehow, do that.
I would like to. Yes, I would like to wrap up because just to clarify a couple of points, there was no mention of Rise Up. in Roger Hallam's comments. It's just that I don't know, and I don't know Roger Hallam. I don't know when he came into this. All I'm saying is that a lot of the organizational and the structure pre-existed Extinction Rebellion. And that is, you know, to think that one is larger than that, or that is the center of that, that's the hubris for me. This is what I was trying to say. I don't know if it's clearer now.
Okay.
I'll wrap up here. You know, that's, do you see what I mean? What's reproachable is it's against the spirit of something that's been going on perhaps for 20 years, perhaps. And I don't know when Roger Hallam became a part of this.
Okay. So you use the word reproach, you have some sort of reproach, and you perceive his spokesmanship and maybe even writing the book and talking to the press as hubristic, and that this movement has an origin far earlier than XR, and so this is hubristic and that sort of thing. Do you feel heard there?
Yeah, I feel heard. We'll discuss it.
We'll pick it up next time around. You can keep bringing it up every time it's your turn.
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to pick Carolina if she would like to be my.
Listening.
I'm kind of new to this, to this whole Roger Hallam thing. I've been following a little bit, and I have appreciated his forcefulness and his perspective and what I've read prior to this particular controversy. Again, I'm sort of an outsider to this.
So you feel sort of outsider to the whole thing. You watch this situation a little bit, but you don't have much knowledge about it, as you mentioned, and you feel a little bit outside of the whole situation, but you appreciate the whole. Is that what you mean? That you appreciate what Hallam said?
Not with regard to this, not regard to the controversy of the Holocaust comment, but his role as a spokesperson and his, I guess, his strategy, or the strategy of XR in general, of what I have perceived from the outside. I have appreciated that prior to this Holocaust thing.
So you mean that you appreciated everything that was the movement and the role of Roger Hallam before this controversy happened?
Yes. Yeah. And with to me, this has much to do with framing. This is much. When we talk about XR, or we talk about Roger Hallam, or we talk about his role in XR, or we talk about how the Germans are viewing this, and how people within XR, or how the public will perceive this, it's the response to this will change depending on the framework, the picture frame that we put this in.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you saying that the way we perceive the whole situation, the whole issue, depends on circumstances and background we put it on, and depends on the context, the whole context of our analysis, so to speak.
Yeah. And just to give a little bit of context, I mean, I was once married to I have some Jewish background, and I was once married to a German woman. So I have some knowledge about this particular thing of the Holocaust scenario. But for me, I tend to see this from the perspective of Noam Chomsky, who is also Jewish, and who came and made the comment. He said that he said he pre-qualified this with, he said, I know this is an outrageous statement, but the US Republican Party is the most dangerous organization that has ever existed on the planet because it is focused, it is making all the decisions to destroy organized human life on the planet, basically omnicide. So
okay, that will be a lot. So you had some Jewish background as a person, and you also was married to a German woman, so you have very specific perspective on this issue thanks to those two elements. And your point of view is close to the point of view of Noam Chomsky, who is also Jewish. And he said that he kind of flipped the whole situation, talking about Republicans, American Party of Republican, that is the most dangerous political organization that causes a lot of violent death, extinction phenomena, so to speak. So he kind of flipped the whole kind of draw attention from Roger Hallam to the real extension. That's what you mean?
if I could, I know the time is up. If I could just
Yeah.
qualify, he made that statement like a year or two ago, like when shortly after Trump got elected, he made these statements. So that's all I just wanted to qualify.
Okay, so it wasn't in context of Roger Hallam, but that's how you see the whole situation. Concerning your background, your connections, your perspective, which is partly Jewish, partly German. That's what you mean.
Yeah. Okay. I feel hurt. Thank you.
Thank you. Wasn't easy for me.
I'm sorry.
English is not my mother tongue, so I'm still learning. Okay, I will choose, maybe I'll choose Edwin, give Eric some time to learn. Okay, time. I probably disappoint Harris, but I don't feel triggered by the fact that I'm Polish or I live in Poland. There is this issue, obviously, of anti-Semitism in Poland. And concentration camps that are not Polish, they are on Polish land, but they are Nazi German camps, not Polish camps. And a lot of such misunderstanding. Yeah, that's true that there is a lot of anti-Semitism in Polish society. But I don't feel like it has anything to do with Roger Hallam statement.
So you're in a joking way, you might be disappointing Harris that you actually don't feel triggered about the Auschwitz and all the camps in Poland because you don't feel responsible. It wasn't you or the Polish that were sort of responsible for that.
No, that's not what I mean.
That's
not what I mean. I wasn't talking about responsibility because Polish people are responsible for many pogroms, and I don't want to deny that. But the statement made by Roger Hallam has nothing to do with Polish, so it's kind of I don't see the context. Yeah, the context is that Holocaust happened on Polish land, made mostly by Nazi German, but sometimes with help of some Polish people. That's true. So it's kind of subtle, delicate issue. But the thing is that Roger Hallam equalized Holocaust with many other atrocities. That's the issue. And with whole respect and sensitivity of such statement, he's actually, I said that in the former meeting, the last meeting we had last week, that his vulgar words he used are unacceptable. That's obvious for me, and it's out of discussion. He shouldn't use vulgar word. When you're talking about death, you don't use such words. That's obvious and out of discussion for me, at least.
So something that's really out of discussion or is inappropriate is that he used a vulgar word relating to the Holocaust and genocide, and that's really what upsets is sort of out of bounds for you.
Yeah, because it's lack of respect to somebody's death, you know, to mass, well, actually to extinction, you know. You can't use such words. That's obvious. I suppose there are not many people who would disagree with that. But it's true that history of human species is full of atrocity and genocide, horrible things we have done to each other. That's actually truth.
So you're seeing the truth of some of the statement that there's this whole series of human atrocities, and there is a truth to that.
So, and I was talking a lot about it last time. So what I wanted to talk more this time is how we react to that. I'm glad about what Harry said about hubris. I believe it was hubris from in behavior. I perceive it as a hubris. I don't know if it is, but I perceive it as a hubris, behaving like that. But what I'm interested is how people within the movement react to that. The very fact that when we said that we want to organize empathy circle, we got a lot of responses to no, not do that, don't do that. That was the reaction we faced, and we had problem to organize or to not organize this empathy circle.
So what you're really interested in is like there's this thing that happened with Roger. Like, what is the response to that? It's like the type of responses, and looking at those responses. For example, one response is, you know, don't do these empathy circles. Or
yeah, thank you. I feel heard.
Okay.
Thank you.
Eric, could you speak to you?
Okay. I can have Harris. I can have Harris. Oh, you want to speak to me?
I'll speak to you. You just if you just reflect.
Okay.
So yeah, what kind of comes to me is when Harris first started, he talked about the empathy circle as a test, and this being a test of the empathy circle, and a question of why don't more people show up. And I agree. Like, why are more people not showing up for this? You're muted if you're wanting to reflect. Eric, or you're muted. Are you there? You're muted. Oh, Eric? Let me see if I can unmute you. Are you still there, Eric? Kind of lost Eric, it seems like.
We've got a new participant, by the way, Lucy.
Let's see.
Yeah, I just joined a couple of minutes ago.
Can I speak to you then, Carolina? Let's Eric.
Can you give me co-hosting so I will help muting and unmuting when you're speaking?
Okay.
It will be easier.
Let's see. Are you there, Eric? What? Oh, you're. I guess you're rebooting. Something happened. Sorry.
Hi, sorry. Wow, my Wi-Fi ended right when you finished talking.
Oh, and we have your video now too.
I switched to my phone. Something's wrong with the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So I think you stopped, and I think I wanted to reflect that you showed surprise at the numbers of people who showed up to this discussion because you think it's very important.
Yeah, and there's something, Harris was also saying that there's a lot of discussion about this. I sound like in some chat rooms. And I think there's one thing, people chatting, just writing comments on the, on blogs and there's a difference, and it's a difference between meeting people sort of face to face and saying your piece. It's like, there's a lot of hot air comment text, text. I mean, it's huge hot air. So, Emmy, if you want to reflect that.
Yeah, it sounds like you are bringing up the issue of kind of keyboard activists where it's a lot of typing away, but not real communication.
For example, we do this empathy tent where we go to different events, and there was an article written about it on Breitbart, which is an American, very conservative magazine. And there was like 1,000 comments critical of the empathy tent, like negative, you libtards, you snowflakes, you wimps, and all this kind of stuff, just a whole bunch of negative stuff. And I said, oh, great, thank you for sharing this. Let's have an empathy circle and we can meet face to face to talk about this. And suddenly everybody disappeared, like 1,000 people just disappeared. They all just wimped out. So when it comes to face talking about these things, it's a whole different ballgame than sort of keyboard warriors.
Okay. So there was a Breitbart article, a very conservative article full of, online trolls attacking us, I guess. And
me, for the empathy tent. Mm-hmm.
Right. So you were trying to suggest an activity to bridge the peace and cooperate with other humans, and they were not receptive, and they just didn't respond.
And they just disappeared. It's like suddenly there was no critics. It's kind of like Jesus. It's like Jesus says, who has no sin, cast the first stone, and then suddenly all the Pharisees disappeared. It's a little bit like that.
Yeah. So I'm hearing you're amazed at the difference in you're amazed at the sheer magnitude of disappearance.
And I think, and even on there was a post, there was a site on Facebook as well where people were saying, oh, we don't need to talk to Hallam, he just needs to be excommunicated. We don't need to speak to racists. It's the whole thing about shunning, that you shun people. And, I say, no, in an empathy circle, everyone gets heard. And that's part of what we're doing here. Whoever you are, your voice gets heard to your satisfaction. But in return, you have to listen to the other person too. So That's the bargain here. That's the agreement we have.
Okay, it sounds like you're maybe frustrated by the unwillingness of people to engage in this in a meaningful way, and frustrated that they
I wouldn't say it's quite frustration, it's assertiveness. It's like I'm assertive, like everyone gets a voice. So it's not like I don't feel so, in a sense, it's that assertiveness, I guess, is that I'm speaking to. Yeah.
Okay, so you want to, who do you want to, do I ask, I can't ask questions?
No,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So what I do here is, yeah, you're wondering who, it's those people who are commenting about shunning Roger, or, you know, just throwing a bunch of negative comments and stuff and not being willing to dialogue and just being assertive that, you know, dialogue is important.
Okay. Okay. So you are expressing the importance of dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep. I feel heard. And I'll just mention to Lucy that we're in the process of the empathy circle, and if you just observe a few rounds, that then you can take part, unless if that's okay.
Oh, okay. So should
Okay.
I pick
So
somebody?
now it's your turn to select. Yes.
Okay. I guess I will.
Let's just welcome Lucy, a new participant. Lucy, do you know the process?
No, I just learned about your group this morning, and I read a little bit about it, but I don't really know the process. I'm content with just listening for a while. I do have some comments about the controversy that's going on, but I can hold off for now.
Yeah, so in this process, everyone takes a turn. It's Erik's turn now to select someone. He'll speak to them, and then they will reflect back their understanding. Then it will become that listener's turn to select someone. We'll just go around. So if you just observe a few rounds, then we'll bring you in.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, Erik, it's your turn to select.
All right. I will select Harris.
Thank you. Although I wish to stress, I think, having observed something, I don't think you don't feel compelled that we're doing, like when we say rounds, as if everybody's speaking. It's not like we're going actual, like, you know, it's not as if we're going rounds and we always have to talk to the next person, right? Just
correct. You select whoever you want and kind of mix
it
up.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't, you know, nobody, you know, it's not going to be a loss of protocol. But yeah, I'm really happy to be your active listener, of course.
Okay, thank you. I've been following the XRUS discussion about this, and my opinion has been very unpopular within that channel, and I've been feeling like I'm just out of touch and uneducated on this topic.
Okay, so I hear that you feel a bit frustrated, and you've been following. You spend a lot of time thinking about this. This is what I'm hearing. I'm changing a bit your words. I don't know if usually we should stick to the said, but is that right? And that you feel a bit frustrated and also maybe shunned by the reactions you received, right? Is that right? Is that accurate?
Correct. Yeah. And also, last night I was speaking with my very close friend who is an Indian woman, and she, since we're very close, she allows herself to be very critical of me, and was very critical of my hunger strike and the strategy and XR. So last night you had an encounter with a really close friend of yours who happens to be Indian, and you were trying to explain to her why you're doing, what your stance is with regards to hunger strike and also XR. Is that accurate? Yeah. She thought our strategy of some kind of national targets and national actions was not a good strategy, and I should focus, on local elections here in Baltimore and local organizing.
So she felt you should focus on more local things, like elections, or not either local or maybe, yeah, on yeah, local. You said Baltimore and elections, so these are local. Yeah, do I hear you correctly?
Correct. And so this is just kind of set up, I guess, my emotional state. I ended up crying last night, and it wasn't really because of the criticism. I don't care about that. I welcome criticism, but it was like, it was grief for all the people who are going to die and that we won't be able to save because it's just like too little, too late. And wondering about like if what I'm doing is helpful, like, or if I should change my tactics.
Okay, so as a result of that conversation, not because of the criticism, you had a strong emotions and you ended up crying. It affected you a lot to the point where it led you to cry, and to the end to question a bit the strategy, like whether what you're doing, and perhaps you're investing a lot of yourself, a lot of your, giving a lot of yourself to this, whether it is the right thing. Do I hear you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I was in discussion with someone from XR San Francisco, and he shared a long comment in Keybase with me, and I asked him to share it anonymously into the XR US channel, and he said, yeah, sure. And then immediately after that, I had been scheduled to do an interview today with someone within XR, and that person saw the comment and then was like, pretty much, I can't interview you because of what you just said.
So you were, as a result of that, you were asked by somebody in XR to have an interview with them. And then when they saw that comment, they canceled the interview. Like they said, I can't talk to you, right?
Right. And then so I tried, like I'm trying to develop, the best opinion on this controversy, like trying really hard, but I feel so out of touch and like kind of illiterate when I'm trying to understand other people's opinions, because they're so like aggressive pretty much, where it's like, you're either on my side or you're out.
So you feel quite, I don't remember the exact words you used, but very strong emotions, negative emotions, because you feel, you use the word illiterate, and like that you cannot express yourself within the context of this conversation, and that gives you anguish. And I missed the last part. I was with you. Oh yeah, that people react like, and you feel frustrated perhaps, or I don't know if I'm supposed to, if I can say that I feel that you feel frustrated, that you interpret people's stances as you're either with me or against me. And that, like, this is very important to you. It gives you tensions, to use an XR word, right? Is that right?
That's right. Do I wrap up or I can end it?
That's up
You
to
can
Carolina,
wrap up.
not up to
You
me.
can wrap
Yeah,
up.
okay. I'm just, I guess like somebody else said, this is a major test, and I'm very concerned about how we proceed, because I think it's like a precedent it's very important. And I don't know what is the best way forward, honestly. So I just I think it's best for me to defer to the opinions of other POC and oppressed people and just let them have the say.
And so you feel that it might be better for you, perhaps personally, to give room to other people who are better qualified, that would satisfy the same criteria, perhaps people of color or other sub-communities that might be maybe your allies, or like you have not allies, like think the same way or something, so that you would prefer to defer to them to leave the room, to defer to them to express your thoughts. Is that correct? And you should stand aside, maybe. Is that correct, or have I misrepresented? Eric, are you there? Yeah, you're there now. We can't
Oh,
hear
yeah.
you. Okay,
Oh.
come on.
I heard you prefer to defer.
Sorry?
I missed some part of it. You were saying like prefer to defer.
Yeah, to prefer to defer to other people of color or other people from minorities to express their opinions in these fora where you feel not comfortable expressing your own opinion, and it has generated a lot of tension inside you, like the act of expressing these opinions in those forums. Is that
Yeah,
accurate?
minor thing. Just I'm not sure if it's uncomfortable, but hesitant because I feel like a lot of backlash will occur.
Okay, so hesitant. You feel hesitant, and you feel that there will be backlash if you
Right.
continue expressing that way.
Yeah. All right. I'm fully heard.
Okay. So it's my turn now. I would like Eric, is that allowed by the rules to have Eric as
Whoever
my
you
active
want.
listener?
Yep.
Okay, so I would like
Okay.
Eric to be my active listener, if that's okay. So first of all, I would like to pick up on a couple of things. Yeah, the first one was Carolina's. I think it's about the hubris, but I might come back to this. The hubris is more about, dear Roger Hallam, there's a big cause here. And if you go back to freedom of speech, of course, there's a time and a space to say things. And that's even in John Stuart Mill, who talks about freedom of speech in liberalism. He says it in that text that you don't just go saying you're speaking your mind anywhere. You need to be aware of things. And that's what I also mean partly by hubris, so it's in that sense, and it's also in the strategy sense. And yeah, if you want to comment to see, and then I will move on to Edwin's comments.
So you mentioned Roger Hallam's hubris in this strategy and emphasized there is a past person and previous document that talks about the importance of time and place for freedom of speech. And
yeah, that's essentially it. About Edwin, Edwin, you talked about empathy circles and hot air activists. I think it might be better, of course, it's your life work perhaps to initiate these empathy circles and the talking face to face. But I believe that there is value, and many people often, I'm not talking about trolls, but many people give a lot of themselves in what they write. And that is better treated as a different way, as just a different modality, if you want, of communication. And song might be yet another one. Film might be yet another one where people are expressing themselves. And this is partly out of concern. Also, I did academic philosophy, so I'm juggling between the two. This is why I'm mentioning this at this moment in time. So Eric, back to you.
So you responded to Edwin's feelings about the trolls not engaging in dialogue, and wanted to say that the writing is in fact a heavy investment on their part, and it's its own type of communication as compared to song and film, and they should all be treated maybe equally or differently.
Respectfully. Probably the word would be respectfully. Yeah, we should bear in mind that there's a person behind this. There's always a person behind this who might be honest, or it might be best strategically to treat them as being honest. So I don't want you to explain this, because I want to speak a lot more about what you said, which I felt was very important. And if you allow me to share some thoughts with that, I can begin to understand your experience and your strong feelings and your strong encounter, even though I wasn't there and I've just met you and you experience things differently than I do. You talked about strategies. I am at a loss, and I would prefer, actually, given that I can talk, I would prefer that if we forgot, and this is part of my Roger Hallam controversy things, it had better not arise at this point, because we have a lot more important things to discuss and to decide as rebels. And one of those is what Eric just said in the last 5 minutes. I think this is way more important to have these discussions. And also, I now know what I wanted to say to Carolina, it was, why didn't want people, what was the sort of resistance that you encounter? Why didn't people want to talk about it? I'm genuinely interested. But to get back to you, these difficult discussions, this is what we're trying to change. And and there are people, like maybe one of these people that Edwin criticizes hot air, maybe some people thought about your comments last night, and it brought it into a really significant tension where somebody said, I cannot interview you, and that in fact destroyed you as well. And I will pause there, and I've wrapped up.
Okay, so first you mentioned that behind the typist is a human, and it's important to recognize the human behind everything, every person. And then you, talked about my experience. You were talking about the importance, I think, of having this discussion, having this discussion for, just entire organization philosophy, I think. And then to Carolina, you wanted to ask about why she thought people weren't engaging in this conversation. Mm. And then, is that it? It was a lot. Sorry.
I feel heard. I feel heard. I'm happy to, I feel heard.
Eric, your turn. You choosing someone whom you want to speak. And my suggestion is, so we change to 4 minutes because there are more of us now. Edwin, what do you think? Okay, so 4 minutes, then.
Okay. I will pick Lucy.
Lucy, your role is to not discuss, but just reflect what you hear in your own words, okay?
Okay, I'll try to tell you what I feel.
What you hear, what Eric is now going to speak to you, and you will just reflect back what you hear Eric say.
And refrain from your point of view until it will be your turn.
Okay, I'll try to do that. I have to warn you that my hearing isn't all that good, and I'll try to do the best I can.
Okay.
All right. I think a lot of this discussion around Roger is not being grounded in nonviolence in terms of nonviolent communication. And in general, nonviolence is something that me and I think some of the DC chapter has wrestled with. And we're not sure how far we can take it to the absolute, ideal extreme of letting cops beat us or whatever while we're not resisting, and what is actually, or whether, what is the best tactic with nonviolence.
Did you want me to start commenting now, or
just reflect back? What did you hear Eric say?
Okay, well, I heard Eric talk about the idea of nonviolence, and it seems like Eric, that you're making you're extending that notion not just to physical violence, but to the way we relate to each other within XR, that we can be kind of emotionally violent and reactive. I think that's what you're getting at.
Mm-hmm. One thing that DC has been discussing is we were offered an interview on the Daily Caller, which is a very conservative talk show that's like pretty much in line with Trump. And we had a huge discussion about getting on the show or not, and how going on the show might be hurtful to a lot of potential allies.
Can I ask you to elaborate on that a little bit?
If you can just reflect back, you can just tell him that you heard he had an invitation to the Daily Caller. So you don't really want to ask questions. You just want to reflect back your understanding.
All right. Okay. So I understand that you had some questions about what it would mean to get on participate in a show that talked about what President Trump and his allies, how that could affect us. I'm sorry, I'm not making very much sense.
Okay, so I think the problem we were concerned with was appearing on this show would, generate ad revenue for this organization that attacks marginalized communities, and therefore by appearing on the show, we are in a way helping them become attacked, and it's not worth any potential victories in trying to reach the audience of this show and trying to sway their opinion, which is like a very small chance.
Yeah, you're saying that would be not good tactics. It's not a very good idea, because it's not good tactics to get onto that show. It's not a situation where you could possibly gain anything for our movement by going on the show.
Yep. And so this is, nonviolence and boundaries. That seems to be kind of what we're just, time. Okay. Yeah. Okay, finished.
So now, Lucy, it's your turn. You choosing someone, you pick up someone whom will be reflecting you.
Oh, how about, would you like to do it? Would that be okay?
Okay, and I can try.
Okay, good, thank you. Yeah, I've kind of been trying to avoid this whole discussion up till now. I've been working on a project with an XR, but that's completed now. And one of the people that I know quite well with an XR is concerned about this Roger Hallam issue and kind of wanted me to get involved. So I'm a bit of a reluctant convert to actually participating in this discussion. When I think about
let me reflect that part, if I may.
Sure.
So you feel a little bit reluctant. You didn't participate until now in discussion around this whole situation. You were focused on your project you were doing within RexR, but one of friends of yours was sort of involved in it and very triggered by this situation, and now you start kind of, and he or she, I'm not sure who was it, she wanted you to get involved in this topic, as I understand.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think the reason why I feel frustrated is because I've reflected in the past on how divisive identity politics is in the United States, that it tears us apart, and just fragments all the radical movements, and that's what makes it so easy for the conservative Republicans to come in and take over the country. I believe in like, well, what do we all want? I think we need to focus on what we all want. We all want a livable planet. We all want to have good, decent housing. We all want to have 3 meals a day. We all want to have free medical care. We all want a job. We all want a job that pays more than ridiculously low wages. No matter what group we come from, we all pretty much want the same things. I'm not, I have some indigenous blood in me, Ojibwe. I'm a trans person, so I do see to some extent what it's like to be in kind of a minority group. But every time I go to a meeting at XR, at the beginning of it, there's this lip service paid to the Ohlone people, okay? And I wouldn't be able to say those words that people say at the beginning of the XR meetings, because if I said them, I would feel like, okay, I'd have to move out of my apartment, let an Ohlone family move in and pay for them. This kind of lip service, I just really dislike. And I think we need to get over that. Sure, if I was Sue, I would like them. Okay.
I would like to try because you said a lot. And
yeah.
So first of all, you feel kind of frustrated, and I sense some kind of fear and anxiety about it, such discussions, because you observe that many radical movements, that actually the whole society is teared apart by politicians and political activists, especially radical movements. And the other thing is that despite of it, we all want the same, actually. We all have the same needs, and not only biological needs, but also kind of psychological, emotional needs. And we are not that different, so why we are so splitted and politically agonized? And another thing is that you feel all the time a minority, just because you are you have some indigenous blood in your veins, and you are also transgender person. And every time you are on the meeting, that part wasn't clear to me. Would you repeat that, explain that
Can
a
we
little
pick
bit?
that up? I just want to keep on the track of the time, because if we keep expanding the time, if people don't get a turn, and then everybody else wants to have extra time. So it'll come around again. You'll get another turn to add more. So
Lucy?
I'm sorry.
Your time was up. I was just.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm satisfied with that.
Okay. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you.
It'll come around. Yeah. So Carolina, you're up.
My turn. I'm choosing Dan. Dan, would you reflect me?
Yes, I will do that.
Okay. I will start. Okay. I want to come back to the fact how other activists in our movement react to the idea that we wanted to organize empathy circle, and they were so much against doing it. So I stopped there.
I want to. What I heard is that you said that you wanted to go back to the topic of how other activists are antagonistic toward empathy circles. They don't want.
They don't want. Yeah.
They don't want. They don't
yeah.
want empathy circles.
Yeah, doing it. And it was, I'm not sure what was the intention of those people, but they were sort of in position of like they behave like they have mandate to tell us what to do. They are involved in the whole process with Roger Hallam. And despite the whole idea of holacracy, they wanted us to stop, to not doing it. Well, they didn't tell us, don't do that, but it was kind of pressing us, pushing us, no, don't, maybe don't do that. It was kind of pacifying and channeling it to the process they do. And let's not anything else happen in a movement. Just we deal with it and let's anybody else talk about it. I saw the same thing in my Polish background in XR. No, don't talk about, because I wanted to organize Polish speakers empathy circle as well. And no, don't do that. It was the same reaction. Yeah, I stopped there.
Okay. So you were not sure of the intention of this, why they didn't want to go ahead with the empathy circles. And you felt, this is my word for what you were saying, but there was some kind of an authoritarian or authoritative tendency that the people
despite holacracy, that is idea of this movement, maybe not authoritarian, but a little bit authoritative. Yeah.
Authoritative, okay. And that they behaved as if they had a mandate, you said, I believe.
Yeah.
And they were associated with the upper management of the group, let's say Roger Hallam, or people that are in close contact with the management of the founders of the group, the organizers, the lead organizers.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't tell you to stop, but they implied through their behavior and their words that you should stop. They were not encouraging to you.
Yeah. And I think it's because of lack of trust to all the activists. What would they say? It's because sort of prejudice that the rest of us are not smart or good enough to deal with it. It looks like that. As we are not responsible enough to do that. And this such a thinking leads to the thinking, okay, I'm better than you, so I have mandate to deal with it. You don't have the mandate. And next step is just, I am better than you. And next step is just violence, me being violent to you. That's how violence develops because I value myself higher than you. And I feel like I have right to impose something on you. So that's the risk of this situation. That's how I see it.
Okay. Can I reflect this back to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the earlier share, you said that this is also happening within the Polish XR, this tendency.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying, no, no, don't do this. And you believe, what you shared now was that because you're wondering if this is because of a lack of trust, there's an issue of trust here, or because of prejudice, some sort of prejudice, that perhaps they view you as not, you and other people that want to do these bottom-up holocratic or empathy circles, that you're not smart or good enough, and you're not responsible, and that there's a tendency, not responsible enough. So it's always some kind of lack. You don't have enough of something. And this creates a dynamic of superiority. They think that they're superior to you and other people that want to do these things better than you. And this dynamic creates a sort of emotional, and then perhaps there's a threat of physical violence that could come out of this, because they value themselves higher than you and other people that want to do these practices.
The last part about violence is more general thing. No, I don't expect anybody to be violent, but within the movement, it's just general fact that if we value ourselves higher than others, we feel the right to be violent to others. That's the mechanism. Okay, thank you. I feel heard.
Thank you. I would like to pick Edwin as my active listener.
Listening.
I'm an outsider to this group, but one of the things that I'm seeing, my understanding is that this group, that democracy was supposed to be a foundational value. Dignity, democracy these are supposed to be foundational values in the XR or the climate activist movement. I'll stop there.
Yeah, so you're new to the movement, and but you did see that you thought that democracy was sort of core to the movement, a core principle.
And listening to all of you speak, I mean, Lucy, Eric, Paris, Carolina, I'm getting, and Edwin, I'm getting this feeling that I'm getting a different tenor of Roger Hallam. I had before, it was banal. This thing was banal, not a big deal as an outsider. But I'm now starting to get a sense that his behavior and his speech is perhaps reflective of the management structure, the organizational, the emergent organizational structure of this movement, and it is creating I guess I'm not reflecting. It's creating a hierarchical Sado. It's repeating holographically the sadomasochistic hierarchical vertical organization of the corporate institutional society. I'll stop there. It was that was a mouthful, I'm sure.
Yeah, so see if I got that. You see that what Roger is doing is sort of a reflection of the organization itself, and you're sort of picking up from the energy here that you're hearing, and that it's kind of showing that the organization maybe has some hierarchical. It's just a repeat of the existing corporate structures or kind of existing structures.
Yeah. And again, this is me as an outsider, and this is also my stance or posture in the world, is that I tend to take sort of the Groucho Marx perspective of things, that I would never join a movement that would have me as a member. So I always, whether I'm in a group or not in a group, I am so anti-authoritarian that I never pay attention to, like, I'm always doing my own things. I'm always in lots of different movements because I'm allergic to this authoritarian tendency.
So you're allergic to this, to an authoritarian tendency, and you are in a lot of different groups, so you always do your own thing, sort of.
Yeah. So to me, like, for example, even though I'm not in XR, I have considered myself a climate activist on my own and done my own work in that area for decades. And I don't align with the external structure of movements. I align with like-minded people that I meet that are intersecting with these things, and I seek allies wherever I can find them. Organizations to me are the problem, and I try to transparently see through them.
So you see that the organizations are hierarchical, especially hierarchical organizations are a problem, and you try to make connection. You'll have maybe the same intention, but you try to connect with people kind of individually within the organizations, but not take part so much in the organization structure itself.
I feel heard. I feel heard.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'll speak to Harris.
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate what you were saying about having, this is previously about respect for, everyone, because I definitely agree with that, about seeing everyone's humanity. So in terms of what I'm saying, I might be frustrated or I might be assertive, but I do want to see everyone's humanity, and that's really important to me.
So from what I hear you say, sorry, I got zoomed out of. So you do take on board the comment about respect. You do, and you agree with it, significantly so, if I may say. There's a judgment, so let's put it in brackets. So you agree with it, and you're aware of the common humanity of all of us.
Yeah, I think common humanity even goes farther than respect. It just says that everybody's kind of doing the best they can. They're struggling. And we have to have an awareness of that. And I see that as part of a culture of empathy that we just see. And that's why I do these circles, because these circles create a space to see each other's humanity.
So for you, from what I see, the words common humanity have a special resonance, more so than respect. And they motivate a lot of your work with empathy circles. This is, the empathy circles are about bringing to the fore the common humanity and the honesty and the good stuff, let's say, that people have, that you believe that people have inside them.
Yeah, because all those critics, the conservative critics that were making fun of us, I like them. It's like I'm really wanting to have them come into an empathy circle because I know because we've done circles with the political left and political right, sort of mediations. And I know that when people come into these circles, if they are willing to take the time, to talk things out, to hear each other, that it really changes. You start seeing each other's humanity. So that's why I'm so, enthusiastic about these empathy circles.
Yeah, so a big part of, again, of the empathy circles and what you observe, and also what you would expand an invitation to critics of even of the empathy circles themselves, and that comes out of your experience even mediating politically loaded topics, that indeed the common humanity does come through in the majority of these events, or in these events, let's say.
Yeah, and I know that people have been part of XR, people have been to meetings, they got frustrations, all these frustrations pile up, they've been felt hurt, it's just all this stuff kind of builds up, and it's that these empathy circles is a space to vent that, to be heard about it, and it starts helping to create connection and understanding between people. And it seems to me that this should be sort of like core to XR, that the first thing you do is you come in, like in a meeting that Lucy is mentioning, because I've been to that exact same meeting, that, instead of like all this stuff that they do, is like start with people just talking to each other, learning some empathy skills, is what I would do. Is like the first thing you do in these meetings is start with an empathy circle.
So yeah, from a lot of what you see around. Okay.
I said a
I'll
lot there.
improvise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what the gist. It feels to me that the gist of what you were saying is that there are gestures towards that, and this can come out, and it is good that it comes out. This common humanity and the good things, such as the expression and the good things that come out of of empathy circles, that they come out in other movements and in other manifestations. Do you feel
That's
heard?
close. Yeah, close enough. I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Thanks. So I pick Dan to be my active listener. So Dan, is that okay with you?
Yeah. This might just I may when this is over, I may have to leave.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll just go through this round. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll try to be brief anyway. So I might even go below 4 minutes.
It's okay.
So first of all, I picked you up because I would like to invite you to be a rebel, because I think there's enough good in this, let's say, cause or wave, or there's a lot that can satisfy, and it's worth supporting. Also, because of the emergency, it can complement a lot of the other stuff that you do. Do you see what I mean? I can see it as a roof. It's a good roof. Despite whatever we've said, it's a good roof to be in that. And that was partly why I wanted to invite you to be my active listener, and you can reflect on this now.
What I heard you say is that you chose me because it was important for you to reach out to me and to invite me into the XR community, I guess.
Yeah.
And that it is a good structure and it can support many of the other things that I'm doing.
Yes, now that was the first part. Then now I go into a second part, which is, I'll try to be brief. I think I will just say this, like from the animal farm, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than some others. And that is something that can perhaps be happening. And maybe he knew something when he actually wrote it down. The person who wrote it down, it was a text, maybe he knew what he was talking about. If you want to reflect on that.
Okay, I
see this as happening in many walks of life, and it's easy, like, it's easy to talk the talk, but not easy to walk the walk. And in practice, this often happens. Some animals are more equal than others.
Oh, okay. So if I have this correct, you're making an animal farm Orwellian quote here, that some animals are more equal than others, but that's kind of there are two different kinds of hierarchies. There's an organizational hierarchy, and then in some ways some people have talents in areas that other people don't. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it reflects into an organization. Am I getting that correct?
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. And one of the things that happens though and that feeds back to the last part that I wanted to say was, I wanted to apologize to Roger Hallam for being a bit crude in my opening comment. I'm pretty sure he's an honest person. And I wasn't intending, I don't know him, first of all, so I cannot judge for myself. So I would like to, to say that it was a bit out of frustration, my first comment. So I would like to say that, but that's not too important, so I can move on because the time will be up. The more important thing that I want to say is that there's something called the regenerative culture reminder. That's something that you say in the beginning of meetings sometimes, if you choose it. And there are 4 words there, which I think are very important. And that I would suggest is a reason to join this organization. And these 4 words, which also reflect back to the animal farm, is we are all crew. So I would like to leave it there. We are all crew.
Okay.
So I want to reflect also, and others to think about the implications of this 4 words. We are all crew. Now, and I stop there, and you can reflect.
Okay. That we're all, I missed your introduction into that, but okay, so what I'm left with is that we are all crew. And this comes from Orwell.
No. This doesn't come from Orwell. This doesn't come from Orwell. This is something that is in, sorry guys, yeah, that is in, that comes from XR.
Oh, okay. Now I remember. You were apologizing for how critical you were of Roger Hallam at the beginning, and the emotional energy that you brought into the group, and that what I'm feeling from you is a little bit more empathy, maybe stepping back from where you were before, and now you're seeing things in you're seeing that we're all interconnected. Is that what I'm getting from this? We are all crew.
If I may, can I have 10 seconds? Carolina, can I have 10
just
seconds?
Go ahead, just to finish.
Yeah. So yeah, no, the idea is also crew. A crew is a group of people who do separate work, but they're all equal, and they're supporting something. That was the 4th work. We're together, we're doing something, and we're equal. And that's the crew, how I interpret this.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel fully heard.
Okay. Can I just pick one? I need to leave after I do this, but can I just take 4 minutes to reflect back what my feelings to someone?
Yeah, you can speak to someone and they'll reflect back. And
okay.
I'd
like to pick Eric if he would like to be my listener.
Sure.
Okay. I'm liking the feeling where it feels like this is kind of coming full circle for me in understanding both intellectually and emotionally.
Okay, you have liked this process and it's helped you in your understanding both emotionally and mentally.
And I also I would like to encourage, again, I'm just speaking from my own side. I would like to encourage you all to continue this work, even if within 8XR or not, even if there's a lot of resistance in XR against it.
Okay, you wanted to encourage this empathy, I guess, empathy circle work wherever we go, whether it's with XR or other groups.
Right. And I also, I see a fractal thing happening. What I perceive as the struggle that's happening in the world, within whatever we're all doing in the world, outside of XR, and whatever we're doing inside of XR, it's the same struggle.
Okay, you are seeing the struggle with Roger Hallam as a metaphor, or, same underlying issue as any problems in the rest of the world.
To simplify this, if we feel that we don't have a voice, and I'm using having a voice as an idea of democracy, right? Do we have a voice in decision making? If we're struggling to have a voice in decision making in the greater world, which is what I would argue is why we have so many crises, one of the reasons why we have so many crises, this problem is also happening within XR. And that's supposedly within XR, these are people that you align with in a lot of ways. And that struggle has to continue there.
Okay. So you were talking about the struggle for everybody to have a voice and be represented, and the fact that it's happening with XR reflects that also it's happening in many places around the world. And
Right.
you wanted to, and or at least in the US, and you wanted to encourage continuing work. And as I guess you feel this is like just very, very important work to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's a question I'll throw out there. If you can't democratize a social movement, how the hell, excuse my language, how the hell are you going to democratize the world or the workplace?
So you're saying the decision making and sharing of voices within this social movement, I mean, this should be the easiest place for it to happen. And if it can't happen here, then that is like a major problem.
Yeah. I feel fully heard. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Are you
Thank
leaving?
you. Yeah, I'm going to leave right now, but thank you very much, Eric, and thank you very much, Carolina. Thank you very much, Harris. Thank you very much, Edwin. Thank you very much, Lucy. I've enjoyed this time with you. And
hope to see you again at some point. Somewhere.
Yes, I hope to do that. Have a wonderful day, all of you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Can I just pass my speaker opportunity to somebody else?
You can select someone and say, I feel fully heard.
Okay. It was Lucy? Yeah, Lucy. Hi, Lucy.
Hi.
I feel heard. Or I just want to say I agree with Dan. I liked his analysis. Yeah, I liked it.
Am I supposed to reflect now?
Just reflect that last piece, and then it'll be your turn.
Okay, you're very happy with Dan's participation, and that you thought he was a good listener and made a lot of good responses.
And now it's your turn to select someone, Lucy.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't I pick you, Edwin?
Okay, I'm listening.
Because I think you dragged me into this meeting.
So you're saying I dragged you into this meeting?
No, I'm just being humorous. Okay.
Yeah, just trying to be a little funny, humorous.
So okay. Now, I was always excited about XR from the moment I heard about it in England. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Roger Hallam as being the co-founder of this movement. There's a lot of disagreements I would have on him on strategy and with tactics. And I think that he was inept and insensitive in that I've got to turn my phone off here. I think that he was insensitive and inept on the comments that he made about the Holocaust. However, I think he wasn't saying that the Holocaust was just a mere just another he wasn't saying that it's a mere blip in on human history. No, he was making the point that there have been many crises like this in human history. You know, for instance, you take the estimated 13 million women who were called witches in the late Middle Ages who were murdered. You know, you can go on and on about that. So I think that's what he was trying to get at, and I think he was misunderstood. He really had a point there. But what brings me here today is the knee-jerk reaction that I hear that XR US has had about this whole thing. It seems like, you know, on the right in this country, people have knee-jerk reactions on the conservative side, I should say the fascist side. Okay, but we have knee-jerk reactions with an XR, at least from what I hear is coming out of XR US. That goes.
I reflect that back. That's a lot. So
okay.
So
Yeah.
just pause. So I hear a lot of respect for Roger, and you feel that he maybe made some miscomments here, and you're sort of understanding that. So as a strategy and maybe an attitude, but that what really seems to be bothering you is sort of the knee-jerk reaction that XR has had to that. Because maybe some of his points are on the mark, but it's just this reaction that you're concerned about from XR.
Absolutely. And when we talk about the knee-jerk reaction within in XR is that, that they're saying that Hallam is prejudiced. He's just simply white and, I don't know, a male and not a person of color, a European. But that kind of overlooks, that gets into stuff that is totally irrelevant to what XR is about and where we need to be. If we get into this thing of complaining about, oh, you're white or you're male or you're heterosexual or all this kind of thing, as if a person who was white, who was heterosexual, who was European couldn't contribute to XR. I mean, was it illegitimate maybe because they were that? I mean, it tears the movement apart when we get into identity politics, and that's what I'm afraid of, because I don't think XR is undemocratic. It might be a little chaotic, and democratic, but I don't think it's hierarchical. But no matter how we're organized, if we have knee-jerk reactions based upon this kind of ideological identity politics, it's going to tear us apart. And
so you have real concern. Oh, sorry, you have real concerns about going into identity politics, racism, and these sort of sexism into these type of issues, because that's going to tear people apart. And so you have concerns about that.
Oh, very much so. Yes.
Yeah. So okay. Well, that was the time, and I guess I'll speak to Carolina. You're muted.
It's 15 minutes to the end. Okay.
Maybe I'll just take a short term, just
okay.
Because we won't need the full 15 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
Because there's, for the debrief. I guess I want to end with just making a plug for the empathy circle as a practice, and that incorporating, because that's what we're pretty much doing in the empathy circle work group, is seeing how we can incorporate this practice of people just slowing down, listening to each other, giving everyone a turn, and how do we spread this? So that's really kind of because I just want to make a plug for that.
So the whole idea of being in a movement was just giving people chance to transform the way we usually talk or discuss or make our gatherings, to slow down, to really listen to each other and transform this way, the way people discuss.
And have some understanding that people have frustrations built up when they get together initially. These frustrations kind of need to get aired, and it's a kind of a rough, there's a lot of kind of tension in it. But when you kind of air the tension and then get heard about it, and then you kind of go around, then it's all kind of, once people feel heard, the tensions go away, and we can get to more constructive, constructive dialogue and steps. So
okay, so you believe that if that empathy circle, that this method let kind of evaporate the whole tension and the let help people calm down. When they feel hurt, they feel more comfortable and become more constructive.
Yeah, and it's an ongoing thing. It's like sort of never ending. There's this quote by Johann Galtung, who started the Peace and Conflict Studies programs in the universities, and he says peace is resolving conflicts with empathy, creativity, and nonviolence, and it's a never-ending process. So it's like, it's not like we do an empathy circle and it's like solved. It's like an ongoing, you know, we got to incorporate this practice, you know, this listening and this empathy is. So I'm getting on my soapbox here, but that's really what I believe. Yeah.
And you emphasize that this is actually a process. It's not the state. It's a process, ongoing, continuously. And you recall what Johann Galtung said about peace as a process that includes or involves creativity, empathy, and nonviolence, and that it is kind of parallel or similar process what we're trying to do in Empathy Circle. You truly believe in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thank you. So
Okay.
we have about 10 minutes, so maybe we can just go around and just, you know, without reflection, just share, you know, how was this meeting for you? Sort of any feedback, you know, take a couple, 2 minutes or so to just reflect, up to 2 minutes, like how it was. Do you want to start, Carolina?
Okay, I will try. So today it was a little bit chaotic for me. Sorry, your time is up. It was a little bit chaotic for me, and I probably because I'm tired, it was difficult to focus. But anyway, I was able to articulate what I mean, and that was important to me. I'm glad that many different points of view met today. People from different backgrounds. That's very interesting to listen to people from very different backgrounds. So I'm very grateful and thank you all for it. That's from me.
Harris?
Yeah. To keep this short, because I am trying to start keeping things short, I felt fully heard, and I appreciate you for that, and I'm very thankful to all of you for this. I feel a bit tired after being fully heard because I usually talk a lot. I hope I have listened fully or at least adequately, and I apologize if I haven't. I thank all of the people for having been there, and if anybody wants to stay in touch, you can probably find me, or I don't know. I mean, I would love to stay in touch with all of you because I liked everybody who was here. So I'll, you know, if we meet up, I would be very happy to, you know, and you know, hopefully when this is all over, we can all have a huge party where we all meet each other. But yeah, so if anybody wants anything, please stay in touch. I mean, we're friends now. We know we've seen each other. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I'll put my contact info in the chat window if you want to contact. So Lucy?
I just want to thank you, Edwin, for having this forum. It did give me a chance to vent my frustrations, which was important, but probably even more important for me is it gave me a chance to try to exercise my listening skills, which aren't haven't historically been all that good. So it was a good practice for me. Thank you.
Eric?
Very thankful that you guys fought through the resistance to do this. This feels very powerful. It was kind of my first time doing this, actually. So I've realized how hard it is to listen to people and how much you forget instantly. Yeah, I definitely want to stay in touch. I feel like maybe I rambled onto different subjects that weren't the subject of this. Yeah, maybe not, but I felt like I did. So I was kind of, oh, like, why am I talking about this random thing? But yeah, you have definitely given me ideas for some posts I want to make back on the XRUS chat. And like, I didn't realize that I was kind of being silenced. And I feel like also, yeah, this identity politics and like POC trying to silence white voices because they're white, you know, it kind of strikes me as maybe this is a major divide within XR, is how people feel about identity politics. And that is like a rift that could tear it apart into two different groups. So who's next? I pass it on to Lucy.
I'm the last person to go. So I just want to share my gratitude for everyone taking part in this. And I do see it as what can bring the sides together. So if there are different sides in XR, if it's the identity politics side or others, that if we can get people together and have a dialogue, and that be the kind of the core of XR, is we're all willing to dialogue with each other. And yeah, so that's where my hope is. Yeah, Harris?
Edwin, you may recall that when you gave me the chance to start first, I said I was a bit skeptical about empathy circles tackling difficult issues. I think it would benefit massively if you haven't done it with the region, getting in touch with the regenerative culture people. And you know, not be totally forceful, because this is region, so you cannot be forceful with region people. But
actually, we're trying to do that. I'm trying to get
you know, it would be worth it, I think, and it would benefit a lot, because, you know, maybe it could possibly benefit a lot, you know.
We do have we have another group that you're all welcome to take part in. It's the XR Democracy Hub project, and we're holding
Paris
empathy.
was yesterday, I think. Paris,
so,
you have been yesterday.
Yeah, so you were there.
Not yesterday, but previously, perhaps. Yesterday, I don't think, but probably in the previous one, I definitely was, yeah.
We did invite the Regen group, and they are actually co-hosts on that, so they are aware of what we're doing. So if you have any ideas about spreading the practice like that, or you have contacts, you know, contact us, because we're here to help, you know, kind of spread this practice. And, you know, we have a lot of different groups, kind of, you know, different projects trying to bring this practice into XR and the whole world. So yeah, any suggestions would be very, and especially if you're feeling energized to take action and kind of help sort of spread it. And if you want to even hold some empathy circles, organize them, we can kind of help with facilitation too. So if you want to initiate something, you know, in DC or wherever you are. Yeah. So.
And actually,
yeah, no, I was just going to say that, well, if Carolina, you and I speak a bit more, or Edwin, and, you know, if we speak a bit more, because I'm reaching the limit of my own capacity here. So do you see what I mean? I can open new avenues, but it might end up with me being in the hospital. Because it's happened before. So what I would suggest is that we stay in touch, and that we slowly get other people on board, like somebody from Norway, and then we can play ball like this. Like we go with one contact and we can suggest, but I need you also to remind me of that, because otherwise, you know, I need to rest 8 hours per night as well. I sleep a lot, so I need, you know, otherwise it becomes dangerous for me.
Yeah, so we have another one of these, and it's Saturday, the following Saturday, so we can, if you're, everybody's welcome to come and bring a friend. You know, let's get some more people if you'd like to follow up.
I'll see. Saturday though, I think Jim Bendel has a Q&A somewhere, so I don't know if it overlaps or not. If it does, then I might prefer to go. It is another thing that I'm open to the deep adaptation forum. So.
Okay, well then with that, I'll close the circle and